Whoa. Hi, viewers. Welcome to the episode of the Nana Yaa Yeboaa Show. In today's episode, we are going to talk about something quite different, but it's also in the area of storytelling, which is how do we tell the African story from the African point of view? And especially as at this present moment, the geopolitics of West Africa. To do this, I cannot do it alone. So I have with me Mr. Benard Mornah. Mr. Benard Mornah is a an executive farmer. Is that what you say? He is an executive farmer. He is also a lifelong learner in politics or a student of politics, highly inspired by giving back to their community. So this is part of his giving, which is sharing with us his thoughts, ideas, his views, and possibly his visions for West Africa in the present and future. Welcome, Bernard.
Thank you, Nana Yaa Yeboaa. I'm delighted to be on your show. I hope that I will make some meaning for your many listeners across the globe.
I do believe you will do that because from what I have heard and what I have seen you do. Let's start by contextualizing you as the person, how you grew up, where you grew up, your educational path and influences till this point.
That alone will constitute the interview. I'm told that we have 1 hour.
We will make it work.
Well, first and foremost, like I said, I thank you for the opportunity to share some thoughts with you about
Mhm.
myself, about Ghana,
Yeah.
West Africa, and probably my view
Can I
on.
quickly say there is a noise coming from outside?
I hope I will be able to mute it. Is it okay?
Yes, that is much better. Yes.
Okay. And
Mhm.
so, as I said, I hope I'll be able to contribute my thoughts on global developments
Mhm.
and also narrow it to Africa and Ghana. But first, I was born in
Yes.
the continent of Africa in a village called
Yes.
Adeka in Accra, where my parents initially, who were all of rural community from Sankana in the Upper West region,
Mhm.
they settled here, and then they gave birth to us 3 boys. Somehow, because of a break in the relationship between my father and mother, my father, who was
Mhm.
then working as a steward at the Ghana Commercial Bank and could not get
Mm.
transferred to where to go and be a steward since there was no
Mhm.
such opportunity in the Upper West region, decided to become a watchman and pushed us from the
Mm.
regional capital to the village. And of course, you can
Mm.
imagine somebody who lived an urban life and went to the
Going
village.
to.
I may, I
Mhm.
may give you a story, if you permit me, that I
Please.
experienced a huge cultural shock because back in
Yes.
Accra, when you are going to toilet, they take you to a WC, they give you a tissue paper,
Yes.
and then of course the food
Mhm.
was of quality. I got to the village and
Yes.
then they had to do beans leaf as my soup. There was no fish whatsoever or meat whatsoever, no protein in the soup. And
Whoa.
I took the soup and all of a sudden I had a stomach upset, requiring me to go to
Mm.
toilet. And this was within the raining season. So as I requested to go to toilet, they handed to me a hole that I should go and dig the ground. Now, when I got the hole, I didn't know what to use the hole for because I want to go to toilet. Apparently, I was supposed to go and dig a hole, which is my toilet, and ease myself in. And I didn't even know how to handle a hole. So a cousin had to lead me into the village farm, which is just the backyard farm, and dug a
Mm-hmm.
hole for me. I was still standing. He said I should now squat on the hole. And then I squatted and I had to ease myself. Fortunately, because I was having this stomach upset, I was able to ease myself.
Yes.
But the shock of it is that I finished and I asked for a toilet roll. And this guy did not know what a toilet roll was. So he asked me to fetch the grass around, which was already wet by the dew, to clean my ass. And I just could not stand it. At the end of the day, they brought me a corn hack, which I struggled to stay through. That thing devastated me. And I keep telling people that you must move out of your shell to go and experience what other people. This was routine for them. And I
Yes.
thought that I was experienced as a young man of 8 years. And this actually devastated me. As I will tell you, it took away my senses. It just disenabled me. And I had to struggle with
That's
this cultural difficulty for a long time. But of course, I grew up without a mother by my side. And because I did not have a mother, other my uncle's wife who had to take care of us had to subject us to what I call training now, but in those days that was a hell of punishment. I had to go to school. I walked 8 kilometers to school every morning, or I had to run to school every morning and run 8 kilometers back, sometimes in the rain and other times in the sun. Of course, as for the sun, you are lucky if it was sunny. You just walk without sandals because in the village we had no sandals. And so you'll be walking beaten by the sun. If it is raining and you are carrying your books and your homework, then you have to remove your school uniform, cover it, and probably look for some polythene to ensure that it's not wet.
It
And so you
doesn't
can
get
come home.
wet.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, and then of course, when you get home, they would have carried your food, lunch to the farm, which was about 10 kilometers. So you just remove your tattered uniform and start gallivanting towards the farm to go and do some weeding, get your lunch to eat, carry some firewood. And as I said, you were living not with your direct parents. And so you carry firewood, come and go to the riverside to fetch water, and then support in making a meal to eat, which time you are already exhausted, let alone to learn. I progressed from Sankana to Kaleu, and somehow when our exams results came, I was admitted into Laura Senior
Mm-hmm.
Secondary School, where I did my ordinary certificate education. And then by divinity, as I keep
Mm-hmm.
insisting, because majority of our friends who went through the kind of difficulties we went could not pass. I got admission into Tamale Secondary School, where I did my sixth
Mm-hmm.
form between
Yeah.
1993 to 1990. Just when I was in sixth form, my poor dad died. And so I had to now become the head of the family to take care of my other siblings. And so I had to secure a job after national service with Internal Revenue Service, which is now
Mm-hmm.
Ghana Revenue Authority, to enable me get some money to take care of my siblings who were to go to secondary school, one of whom is a professor now in the United States of America. And it was only when he managed to get to the university level, then he told me that his student's loan could enable him pay his school fees. So I could stop the work at
Whoa.
Internal Revenue Service to do my education at the university. So my kid brother, who is third after me, now had to
Took care
advise
of
me
you.
to go. Now I had
Go
to now
back
go
to
to the
school.
university. Yeah, so I went to school without study leave, and therefore it means that I was not going to be paid. So the little savings I made was what I had to use to go to university a bit late. But I completed my university, and then I joined politics. But later I had to secure admission, and anytime I applied to Ghanaian universities, somehow I did not get the attention to be enrolled. So I had to look for outside university, and somehow I got a lot of admission offers in New Zealand, in Singapore, in Germany, in the
Mm-hmm.
Netherlands. in the United Kingdom and Canada. Eventually, I had to settle for a school in Germany where I went to do my master's, upon which I returned back to Ghana
Mhm.
to continue to pursue my passion of being a farmer, of being a sportsman, and above all, doing
Mhm.
the little politics that I'm doing. If you will
Wow.
permit me, I will leave it here, except you want further information.
No, it's what I'm going to ask is what did you do your master's in?
Oh, I did my master's in international and development economics at the University of Applied Sciences
Okay.
in Berlin.
Okay. Bernard, your story is very inspiring because many people will complain with the advent of the culture shock, with the traumatic experiences, with your father passing and the sacrifice you made for your siblings. Some people would just have given up, but giving up was not an option for you. You still had that drive, that passion to how do we call it? To succeed, and you went at it. That's why I kept quiet listening. It's like wow, wow, wow.
No,
It is very it
I come from a very poor background, as I said. And if you know the rural community of Sankana, I just thought that the farming that I witnessed could not have been an option for me in my future life.
village.
And so I
Yes.
had to embark on an aggressive pursuit of knowledge because
Mm-hmm.
I've seen a few people who had gotten to school and then they could afford a bicycle, a motorbike. And somehow
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to also own a motorbike, and I thought that education could provide me that. And so I took my studies seriously. I decided to get my own local mentors who
Mm-hmm.
I took up to. I will come and disturb you if you are a teacher so that you can give me the opportunity to learn under your feet. Probably I did the extraordinary in
Mm-hmm.
a village setting to be able to reach where I
Yeah.
reach. And I keep telling the story, particularly to most of them in the village, that at a time I
Yeah.
was in school, it was that we did not have electricity in the village. I had to use the moonlight
Mm-hmm.
to study. I had no food to eat. I have already
Mm-hmm.
narrated the circumstances, and I had to
Yeah.
sometimes go and hunt for lizards and then roast them and agama lizard and roast them as a source of food and protein.
Protein.
And so when I go back to the village, which I do often, I tell the
Mm-hmm.
people my story and said, is to inspire many other young people who think
Yeah.
that the circumstances of the village cannot and will not permit them to reach to the highest, and that they should see my example as capable of being able to reach to the luminous summit.
Yeah. A change in mindset. That is so beautiful. Wow. It's so thank you. And really and truly, the core of this program, this show is about transformation, inspiration, and all these. And eh, well, I know that was not what we're going to talk about, but you've just made it wholesome. You just made it wholesome. And for that, I am grateful. I am grateful. Could you please tell us a little bit about what you are doing right now with Langdon Farms and the concept and stuff?
Well, first let me say that I grew up as a farmer, as I already depicted.
Yeah,
Even to go to the village to go and shit, I had to be given a hole to go and do
yeah,
so. But I also
yeah.
learned a bit of sports, and I
Hmm.
I I, I played basketball up to the national level in Ghana,
Hmm.
and I
Okay.
also do a bit of volleyball now, even in my aspired age. And of course, I
Ah,
have
we are not expired. We
a
are finely aged like fine wine,
yes.
not expired. Please, I beg.
And then so of course I do a bit of football, which I have a
Hmm.
small football team called the Calibi Sporting Club. We just
Hmm.
qualified as an unbeaten team in the Division 3, and we are now
Hmm.
into Division 2. It is our hope that we'll
Mm-hmm.
get to Division 1 and obviously
Mm-hmm.
join the Premier League, where we'll be able
Mm-hmm.
to exhibit the village talent at the national and international level. But
Great.
as I said, being a farmer um, has always been, as you will notice that I said that farming offered us the opportunity
Mm-hmm.
to not only eat at the peasant level, but we were able
Mm-hmm.
to sell a few products, sell a few animals to take care of our school educational fees and what have you. And so when
Mm-hmm.
I started, and I, of course, after my completion of education in Germany, I thought that what
Yeah.
a better way to give back to the society than to go back
Mm-hmm.
and do the work that they did in order to support our education and probably do it in a better and a modern form. So we
Form.
established what we call the Landy Paradise Farms.
The land.
Landy in our local language, if translated in
Mhm.
English, means you eat together. And you know that
Okay.
communism has been the lot
Yes.
of our people. So in order
Mm-hmm.
that we can eat together,
Mm-hmm.
we thought
Mm-hmm.
that people around the communities must learn to coexist, must share
Yeah.
the wealth of our land, and above
Mm-hmm.
all, work as if um, we are a unit. And so this is what
Mm-hmm.
we plan. And so on
Mm-hmm.
our farm, the concept is that you should come to the farm and be able to stay on the farm.
Mm-hmm.
You should come to the farm and be able to eat from the farm. You
Mm-hmm.
should come to the farm and get exercise, get excited. And when we
Yeah.
also, which are the projects we are doing, apart from the farmhouse, we also have what we call the Landy Mart, which is a market avenue. We do market research, get to know which commodities we can sell, where we can sell them, and above all, um, the whether we have domestic market or external market. We look at all these options. And so once we are able to do that, other farmers within the catchment area, we serve as their source of market for them. And so this is what we do.
Yeah.
The second thing that we do is that
Okay.
because we have opportunity to get um, experts to come to the farm, we get these experts and
Yeah.
other students and persons who want to learn about
Mm-hmm.
conservation agriculture. They also come there and then they
Mm-hmm.
use our farm models to also learn how to do farming. And above all, we have
Yeah.
some equipment. We have some tractors, we have a planter, we have a boom sprayer, and we have a
Mm-hmm.
sheller. And because we have these equipment, not only do we rent them, but the people that are there also work on them. But the most exciting aspect is that there are many people in our society, particularly young people, who have felt
Mm-hmm.
that the state has not, or they have fallen out of education. They think that life is lost to them. These are the people that we
Mm-hmm.
have mobilized to the farm. And because the farm is
Okay.
somehow remote from the community, they don't get access
Yes.
to hard drugs. They don't get access
Okay.
to a liquor, alcohol. And some of them that
Okay.
initially were seen as mentally insane and in the village level, they will chain them and what have you. When they get to our farm, and because we bring psychiatrists to come and attend to them, you'll be surprised that they have become
Mm-hmm.
useful. And I keep insisting that not only to themselves, but to the greater good of society.
Oh,
And so
yes.
this is what we are doing. We're currently doing about 500 acres of maize and soya bean combined. And we have
Mm-hmm.
some
Mm.
animals on the farm. We have some cattle, a few
Yes.
cattle. I think we have about
Yes.
82 cattle for now. We have some horses, 11
Mm-hmm.
horses on the farm.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, we have sheep. And
Mm-hmm.
so, given that you can come to
Yeah.
the farm, you will sleep there. We only have solar
Yes.
lamps. And so, you will not get all,
Okay.
but you can have internet and do any other thing you want. This is the concept that we are
Mm-hmm.
doing so as to incentivize
Mm-hmm.
people to know that farming could also be an opportunity, not only for employment, but also for the income of our people. And anybody that works on our farm, we don't pay you. When
Mm-hmm.
you come to work on our farm, you become a part owner of the farm. So we will farm for you
Mm-hmm.
whatever crops you want to. So we will till a portion of the land
Yes.
within the farm. So you are part owner of the farm. Your crops are there. And therefore,
Mm.
pilfering or theft is reduced to a barest minimum.
Yes,
And also, you cannot say that you will not take care of the farm, because if you don't take care of the farm, your own crops will also
you
suffer.
don't.
So we have somehow
Yes.
motivated ourselves and everybody around the farm to be a part owner of the farm. And I
Mm.
think that it has worked so far for us.
Wow, that is great. I wish many listen to this conversation, and those that are on the continent of Africa also trying to can take a page from this playbook and apply it. We do need transform in Africa, and most especially from transformational leaders like you will make it happen. So, guys, if you've not tuned into the Nana Yaa Yeboaa Show, please do tune in, subscribe. If you're listening to us on Spotify, you can also follow us on Spotify or wherever you listen to your podcast.
So
Um,
as a farmer, let me
it's
just conclude that as a farmer, anytime I
yes.
travel to any part of the continent of Africa, I look for other farmers. And in Uganda and in
Mhm.
many other places, I've met some great farmers. We have been sharing
Yes.
ideas. So if you go to Farm Uganda, um, which is
Mhm.
hosted by one of the young persons in Uganda, they are doing at the
Yeah.
time of 100 acres of land. We have 1,000 acres, and so we have done 500 cultivated. And the farm Uganda is doing excellently well. We learned some modules from them, which we apply.
Mhm.
But above all, the continent of Africa cannot be liberated if the people of Africa cannot feed themselves. And we need
Yeah.
to find a way to feed ourselves because we have enormous arable land. There is no justification whatsoever that the people of Africa should import food, in particular, from any part of the world. That today, because there is a conflict between Russia and Ukraine, African countries are reeling under the banner of food shortages. It's a blot on the continent of Africa and our leaders. And so I feel even more inspired that the war in Ukraine and the fact that it has led to wheat and other food shortages in the continent will mean that the people of Africa must rise to the occasion. COVID-19 has told us that we cannot continue to depend on other people and that we should find a way to survive. How
Yeah.
can you survive if you don't have adequacy of food? And so our leaders must rethink their modus operandi and stop going to beg and realize that we have a capacity to be able to liberate ourselves. First, we must have food. And when we have abundance of food, all other things shall be added. Because once you have food, you can have improved health care. Because if you don't eat and you
Yes.
even take any medication, it will not work. And finally,
That is true.
without food, it means that there is going to be insecurity. And I keep saying
That
that
is right.
food is a national security, a continental security issue. The absence of food
Mhm.
will indicate that, hey, you are actually leaping into dangerous grounds. And that's how come that we should feel the need to first produce not only for export, but to feed ourselves.